$50 gift card. We have 4 gift cards. They're Visa, MasterCard. I think Dee needs help on the back row with the survey. Yeah, she's got her hand up. Do we have everybody from the fellowship hall? Is everybody over here? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Is he okay? He looked a little peaked. Yeah. I'm just going to use that. Thank you, Charlie. Huh? So we're all busy filling out our pre-training survey. If you're taking the survey, make sure you sign up on the clipboard. That's how we know who to get the gift card to. When you fill out the survey, it only asks for initials and birthday. So we need you to be sure to fill out the clipboard so we can match up the initials with your name. And give us a way to contact you, because I know you want to hear from us if you won $50. And we're not going to do anything with your information. We're not going to add you to our mailing list or put you in our database. We'll shred that sheet after the winners are announced. So. Would somebody go check and make sure everybody is over from the fellowship hall, and then we'll get started. And hello to everybody that's watching us online. Thank you for tuning in. So as soon as I get a mic, we'll go ahead and get started.
Those batteries may not last through the whole thing because I didn't get the other set charged.
Okay. If so, we'll just swap them out. So good afternoon. Welcome to Unity of Savannah, our NARCAN training. Let me say that we had Leslie Messenger was scheduled to do this training, and she had a stroke about 4 weeks ago, and she's broken her toe, and she couldn't get out of bed this morning. So we want to hold her in prayer. She's doing some good work. She has an organization called No More Overdoses. She started it because her son, Austin, died of a heroin overdose when he was 27 years old. And she feels like that if somebody had been there with some Narcan, he might still be around. So today's training is part of a program I've been engaged in since January called Empowering Faith Leaders. Empowering Faith Leaders. There's about 22 spiritual leaders from around Savannah who are involved in this. It's an initiative from the Clinton Foundation. So they've been going around to different towns in Georgia. They're in Georgia right now. They'll be in other states later. So Savannah is one of the last on the list offering this program. And the point of it is to educate faith leaders about the opioid crisis in our country and to provide resources to be able to help people in faith-based communities learn more about the opioid crisis and understand ways that they can help. So one of the outcomes of this Empowering Faith Leaders program is that we do a project. So this is our project today. So the point of the presentation, the training that we're about to have today is twofold. We want to let you know what it looks like when someone is overdosing on opioids. And we want to provide you with a dose of Narcan, show you how to use it so that you have this available if you encounter somebody that's ODing from opioids. There are 130 Americans who die every day from a drug overdose. And more than 75% of those deaths are due to opioid overdose. So by the time we finish with this presentation, at least 10 people in our country will have died from a drug overdose. More people die in America from drug overdoses every year than they do for car accidents. So I had no idea how rampant opioid abuse was in our country until I started taking this training. And one of the things that really opened my eyes is a documentary by Nova on PBS called Addiction. So if you go to pbs.org on the internet, look for Addiction, there's a movie you can watch for free, and it talks about the opioid crisis in North America. They also include Vancouver in this documentary, and one of the reasons is they have a safe place where people can go to use heroin. Because a lot of times when people buy street drugs, they're laced with fentanyl. Fentanyl is what is really killing a lot of people right now. I have someone who's very close to me who I was talking about this with last week, who shared with me that when they used to go to a party, when they were using, they always had a dose of NARCAN with them, just in case somebody at the party OD'd on fentanyl. Because a lot of street drugs these days are laced with fentanyl. People are taking fentanyl and they don't know they're taking fentanyl. You can buy a pill press on Amazon for $56. I looked this up last night, and you can make your own pills. You can get molds that make the pills look like Xanax, Valium, Adderall, and put whatever you want to in them. So during this hunt, looking for somebody to do this presentation today, I talked with the Dr. Northrup at Gateway Behavioral Center, and he told me the story of a teenage girl who thought she was taking a Xanax or a Valium or something like that one of her friends had given her, but it was a pill that was pressed with fentanyl, and she died of a fentanyl overdose. Fentanyl, the size of a grain of sand, is enough to kill one person 20 times over. That's how powerful and how dangerous it is. So there's places like this Insight in Vancouver that are experimenting with having a safe house where people can come and use heroin, shoot up, but they give them clean needles. They test their drugs to make sure that it really is heroin and not fentanyl or baby laxative or concrete. I mean, people put all kind of stuff in things these days. You don't even know what it is. And so while they're using, there's a counselor there that can talk to them and maybe help them get in recovery, or just help them know that somebody cares about them. Because the guy who runs this Insight place, the quote that really stuck in my mind was, "There aren't any disposable people." There aren't any disposable people. When we label people as addicts, criminals, homeless, whatever you want to say, suddenly we have this whole set of judgments around the person. They're not a person, there's somebody out there. Well, it's their problem. Well, they deserve it. They're choosing to live like that. What they're finding at this place, this safe house in Vancouver, is that the rates of HIV in that community dropped dramatically when they started giving people a safe place to go use. The crime rates in that area of town dropped dramatically. The overdose rate dropped dramatically because this was a place where people felt seen and heard. So one of the things that we're trying to do with our training is to kind of reduce the stigma around being a drug addict. And I'm so grateful to Connie, who shared her story this morning, to let us know that drug addiction happens to people from all races, from all economic backgrounds. It doesn't matter what age you are. You know, one of my thoughts about the training today is, we have 50 doses of NARCAN. Everybody's welcome to take one with them when they leave today. Maybe there's somebody that you love that you're concerned that they're having a problem with opioids. Well, if you come in their room and they're laying on the floor with an overdose, we want you to know what to do to help them so they don't die. If you come across somebody in the street, I want you to know the difference between they're passed out drunk and they're in crisis from opioid overdose. And so this is what you can do. And it's real simple. So we have these packs of NARCAN. Everybody is welcome to take one today. There's some in a bowl on the back table, and then you can get one from up here. It's real easy to use this, but before I talk about that, what does it look like if somebody is ODing from opioid? Has anybody ever seen anybody that's overdosed from opioid? So what you want to do is, if you think that someone is ODing from opioids, is you want to go and shake them first and try to talk to them. Now the cool thing about Narcan is, I could squirt it up my nose right now and nothing would happen. Like, it is safe. It is not going to mess with anybody. So if I give it to anybody and they're not ODing, it's not going to hurt them or harm them or any way. So if I walk up to somebody on the street or in my home and I think they're ODing, I'm going to shake them first. I'm going to put my hand on their chest. I'm going to see if I can feel a heartbeat. I'm going to touch them and I'm going to talk to them. Are you okay? What's your name? And if they wake up and respond, they may just be drunk, right? Let's be honest. But if they're unresponsive and they're not breathing, because what happens when you get too much opioid in your system is that your body can't process it. And one of the things opioids do is it shuts down your respiratory system. So a person that's ODing from opioids will be either not breathing or breathing just barely, just a little bit. Look at their lips and their fingernails. Like, their lips will turn blue. Their fingernails will turn blue or black. A person with darker skin, they're going to be more ashy than blue, but the fingernails is another good way to tell. And this is because they're not getting enough oxygen to their extremities, right? And then another thing that happens when people are ODing from opioids is they get what's called the death rattle. So they might be making guttural noises, snorting. If anybody's been around someone who's dying and heard that sound of the death rattle, that's what it sounds like. So they're trying to get air and they can't breathe because their respiratory system is shutting down. So the first thing that you want to do is get them on their back. If you think they're ODing, put them on their back and tilt their head back so it opens up their airway. If you've got something that you can put under their neck, a towel, or don't run and get something, but if something's handy, you can put something or just your hand. And then you have in your little packet, you have three things. You have the actual Narcan dose. You have plastic latex gloves to put on, so you'll want to put those on. And then this is a face shield if the person needs what's called rescue breathing. So maybe you'll give them the Narcan and they're still not breathing. You can put this over their mouth and it's a one-way shield. So you grab their nose, you blow forcefully into their lungs, and then every couple of seconds you blow again, holding on their nose. And so this protects you. And it tells you what to do on here. It's really simple. All you do is lay them on their back, tilt their head back, and then this is just like Flonase or something. See? You just stick it at one nostril, press on the other, and then just squirt it. Just press that and squirt it in there. You don't want to test it first. Like, it'll shoot up in there. You don't want to try it out first. You just put it in their nose, press the red button, and then, usually this will bring a person out of overdose long enough for you to call the ambulance. Now, what happens is sometimes this might only last 15 minutes or so. It just depends on how much they've taken. It could last for 30 minutes. You don't know. But you need to call the ambulance right away, because when it wears off, they'll go right back into overdose because they've still got all the drugs in their system. So like Connie told us this morning, her friend's son's life was saved more than once by somebody administering Narcan. Noxolone is the drug name. So it just rouses them and keeps them alive long enough for you to get the ambulance there. So if you're there with another person, you get someone to call 911 while you're working on the person who's ODing. You don't want to stop and call first. You want to give them this first and then call 911. So if you have someone with you that can help, hey, call the EMTs, and then you go to work on them with this. And usually it only takes one squirt of these. Sometimes you have to give them two, but this will usually work the first time for a few minutes. So in your packet, it tells you exactly how to do it right here. So you don't really want to open this up until it's time to use it. You want to keep this sealed up. But I would advise you to get your sheet out and to read the instructions so you know how to do this if you come across somebody. So does anybody have any questions? Michelle?
I'm not sure of all the normal names of, like I know fentanyl, and then there's OxyContin, Vicodin, what else? Those are the
Heroin.
heroin, morphine, I guess.
I don't know. Yes, someone said yes. Dilaudid.
Is cocaine an opioid?
No.
Right. Very dangerous. So for opioids though,
Yeah. Yeah, that will not help with like meth
right.
or cocaine. Yeah.
What's the main ingredient in that that's preventing them from, stopping?
I don't know.
You don't know.
Noxolone, I think. But, Google this. You can learn about it on the internet. Yeah.
When you first squirt that into their nose, what is the first reaction? Do they jump and shout and start breathing?
Yeah, he's asking what happens when you give it to them. I don't know. I've never had to do it before. So, John?
If you want to read the instructions without opening up one of those packets, you can go to NARCAN.com, and they have a PDF of those instructions that you can read over.
Great. So John is saying, I'm not sure if the live stream picks this up or not if you're not using a mic, but John says going to NARCAN.com will give you the instructions on how to use the package. This gentleman asked, what happens when you give it to them? Do they jolt up, or I'm not really sure.
I've only seen it used once. They had a seminar at St. Joseph, and it's like they take a deep breath and they just burst back.
Okay.
Yeah. But,
So June says if you give it to them, they take a big deep breath and kind of come back to life. Okay.
That was done in that demonstration.
And another thing that you need to be aware of is they're going to be confused. So they're going to come to, and they might be combative. Like, who are you? Why are you in my face? What are you doing to me? Kind of thing. So just be ready, And the trick is to keep them there until the ambulance gets there, because sometimes people are like, I'm fine, leave me alone, and they leave. And I'm not suggesting you physically restrain anyone, but use your powers of persuasion to get them to stay until the ambulance comes. Yes.
So what if the ambulance doesn't get there in about 15, 20 minutes? Maybe it takes an hour. Can you give it to them again if they overdose?
Yes.
Okay, so you can't overdose them on this.
That's correct. So Amanda wanted to know, can you overdose on Narcan? No. So sometimes you may have to give them 2 doses to bring them out. If it's really, people build up a tolerance to drugs over times, because I know someone was telling me the other day they knew someone that used to snort lines of fentanyl. That was how much they had been doing it. But, you do a little bit too much and you're going to get it. I mean, this can happen to anybody. We heard this morning tales about like older white ladies that are addicted to pills. Prince died of a fentanyl overdose. Tom Petty died of a fentanyl overdose. Like, it doesn't pull any punches, right? It just affects everybody evenly across the board. And I can't stress enough how powerful it is. and that kids are taking drugs that their friends give them. They don't know it's laced with fentanyl. This is like one of the main ways that people are overdosing today, the kids, because they're taking what they think. I mean, it's even in some of the weed that people are smoking. So, yeah.
Can you overdose on cocaine?
Can you overdose on cocaine? Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Does Narcan work?
Narcan does not work on cocaine or meth. No, just the opioids like heroin, fentanyl.
Is there an expiration on this?
Yes. You can purchase this. One of the reasons we're giving it away is because it costs $75 a dose, and that's a little prohibitive for some people. We were really fortunate that we found a place that could give us 50 doses for a donation. So that's why we want to make sure everybody leaves with one today. And yes, the ones we have expire January 2024. And you also want to make sure, you probably don't want to leave them in your car in the heat of summer, because they, if it's over 104 degrees in your car, it ruins it. It won't work. Yeah. So one of the people who trained me on it says she keeps it in her backpack so that she always has it with her.
Do you need a prescription to be able to buy this, or can you just go into a pharmacy and purchase it?
I am not sure. I think that you can just go to CVS and get it, that you don't need a prescription. But because it costs so much money, you know, some people can't afford their blood pressure medicine, so they go into CVS and say, I would like Narcan, and they would say, you know, $100, please. Like, not everyone can do that. And that's why Leslie Messenger likes to be able to buy Narcan and give it out to people, because she knows that not everyone can afford.
What was her website again?
No More Overdoses. I think it's nomoreoverdoses.com or nomореods.com. But if you put that in, Savannah, she'll pop up. Anybody else have a question, comment? Thank you so much for coming today. So one thing that we would like you to do, if no one has anything else, is to complete the post-training survey. So to be quite honest, the data that's collected from the surveys is turned in to the Clinton Foundation. This is the way the Empowering Faith Leaders get their funding. It's really important that we fill out the surveys, so that's why I'm pushing it so much, and why you can win $50 by taking one.
So how do you know if they won that $50?
They're going to let us know next week, and then we take, because when you take the survey, you only put your initials in and your birthday. That's why you need to be sure to sign up on the clipboard, because they're going to send us initials and birthdays, and then we match it up with what's on our sheet. And as soon as we get the winners, we're going to shred that sheet. We're not saving any of your information. Does everybody know now how to take the post survey? Do we want to go ahead and do that right now?
Yeah, and you have a second QR code, y'all probably noticed that on the one sheet.
Yes. There's a second QR code on your
Has
sheet.
anybody not filled out the clipboard?
It was sent out in a text as well.
Is there just one squirt?
There's one squirt. You press it, it squirts up there, and you're done.
So when you say a second dose, you need a second bottle?
You need a second bottle, yes. In most cases, one will do it. Yeah. And then, you know, if it's like Amanda's saying, if it takes a while for the ambulance to get there, you might need to hit them again. So,
15 minutes.
yes, that's what I was told, 15 minutes, yeah. June?
Yeah, I wanted to say, you don't want them to leave also because they can experience the overdose the second time. It's like all over again. So you don't want them to leave, even though they're confused and in shock, basically. So, yeah.
And I really encourage you to go to PBS website and watch the addiction documentary. It's a few years old, but it really opened my eyes. Like the plight of the coal miners in West Virginia. These folks are already living in such poverty. It's like a third world country. And then the pharmaceutical companies are just, this was in the 90s, just pumping Oxycontin into those communities. There was a story of one guy I watched that, he said he hurt his back working in the coal mines. He couldn't work. He went to the doctor. They gave him oxycodone, and he got addicted to it. He's sitting in front of a house with no windows. They're all boarded up. This is his home. His wife and daughter left him because one time they went on vacation or went to visit somebody, and he spent $23,000 in one weekend on pills. And when his wife got home, she was like, "That's it. I'm done. I'm leaving." So he's in recovery now, but his brother's dead from an overdose. Yeah. So there's just so many ways that this is affecting different people, from those communities to like kids smoking weed laced with fentanyl. That's just, it breaks my heart.
And before fentanyl was even on the market, a lot of people were dying from OxyContin.
Yes.
And what's the other one, Vicodin?
Yeah, not the photo.
Ken, did you have something? No. Oh, okay. Anybody else have a comment or a question? And we're all working on our surveys? Yeah.
I have kind of a question. I don't know if you could answer, but we keep hearing about these pill presses and people putting fentanyl when somebody thinks they're buying something different. Why are they doing that? Is there some kind of economic thing for the bad guys to do that? Or are they trying to kill people?
I don't know.
We don't know.
That's a good question.
It's
I
an
don't know.
interesting psychological.
There's testing services or kits you can get for drugs. If somebody is a user, that's an important step in harm reduction. They can test their drugs before they use them, like you were talking about.
Yes.
Centers, but those kits are available like online at stores.
Okay, so she's saying you can get a kit that you can test your drugs to make sure you're doing what you think you're doing. You get it online?
Yeah, I think at the drugstores too.
Okay, so I could go to CVS and get some.
I'm pretty sure, but I know you can get it online.
Okay, thank you. Connie?
I just wanted to say, I don't know all of the reasons, but one of the reasons that they might be making pills with fentanyl, these people target schools and colleges, and they can give a high school student a handful of fentanyl tablets, and eventually these kids are going to get addicted to it, and they're going to have a whole bunch of customers. So it's very, very addictive. And they target the kids to take it and get addicted to it. That's sad.
So we want you to be sure, if you want, take a dose or two with you. We have 50 of them. And how many people do we have here? Amanda? We probably have one enough.
We had over 60 this morning, but I don't know now.
Do you want to take around a bowl and kind of pass them out?
That's a great idea.
The PBS show is called Addiction. And actually, if you find where that documentary is, there's a lot of shorts on there, like 5 minutes. You can learn about something.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm going to say goodbye to the online folks. John, if you want to go